Hong Kong teachers exit under shadow of security law, schools scramble to fill gaps. A teacher introduces himself to the students in a classroom at a secondary school, during the first day of the new term, in Hong Kong, China, September 1, 2021. Picture taken September 1, 2021. Reuters/Tyrone Sue. Hong Kong, Sep 17, Reuters. For his last class in Hong Kong in July, liberal studies teacher Fong showed his students calligraphy by the territory's late democratic activist Zeto Hua. Choose the right path and stick to it. He emigrated to Britain days later. Fong is one of many teachers that left Hong Kong before the school year began in September. Some saying they felt disillusioned and threatened by the authoritarian turn the city has taken since Beijing imposed a stringent national security law in June 2020. The day I resigned, I told my school, if one day, some students downstairs chant slogans, I would have to call the police to arrest my own students, said 45-year-old Fong, who asked to be identified by only one name for fear of drawing the attention of authorities. I could not do that. And I could not hold my tears. Several principals who spoke to Reuters said teachers were departing this year at about twice the normal rate, leaving some of them scrambling for new recruits. The Hong Kong Association of Heads of Secondary Schools, HAS, warned the government in July that would cause a brain drain that would reduce the quality of education in the city. About 700,000 pupils attend 1,000 or so primary and secondary schools in Hong Kong. The education environment and also the atmosphere have changed quite drastically in the past 2 years, Samuel Cheng, principal at United Christian College, Kowloon East, told Reuters. People are stirred up by their friends and colleagues who left, so I have to help them at least emotionally settle down. I have to stabilize the school. In response to Reuters' questions, Hong Kong's Education Bureau said teachers might have quit the profession to pursue other jobs or studies, or for other personal reasons, and did not address the issue of a brain drain. It said the national security law was not affecting the education sector or the quality of teaching. The allegation by the so-called departing teachers is totally biased and unfounded on evidence, the EDB said in a statement to Reuters. It is inherently misleading and statistically biased to regard views from these individual teachers as representative of the education professionals in general. National security lessons. It is impossible to determine how many of the almost 60,000 school teachers in the former British colony left this summer, or plan to leave this year. Figures on teacher employment for this school year collected by the EDB are not yet available. The Professional Teachers Union, PTU, which was Hong Kong's biggest union before it disbanded this month, said in May that 40% of teachers it surveyed wanted to leave the education sector. Some have emigrated, although Hong Kong does not publish information on how many people leave the territory or their occupation. Britain, Canada, and other countries have said tens of thousands of Hong Kongers have emigrated in the past year or so, out of a total population of 7.5 million. One of those was Grace Kwok, a 33-year-old music teacher who moved to Britain in January. She told Reuters some parents complained to her principal after she told pupils that Tian Han, who wrote the lyrics of China's national anthem, March of the Volunteers, died in prison during Mao Zedong's 1960s Cultural Revolution. I do not want to teach my students values I do not believe in, said Kwok. I do not want to be in danger. The education system has become a key target of a broader plan by China's leaders to reform Hong Kong's rebellious youth after the often violent pro-democracy demonstrations of 2019. Almost 20% of the more than 10,000 people arrested during the protests were of school age. About 100 teachers and staffers from schools were also arrested, according to the city's education secretary. In February, Hong Kong introduced new curriculum guidelines ensuring that children as young as 6 learn more about China and are taught about the national security law, which made any act that Beijing regards as secession, subversion, terrorism, or collusion with foreign forces punishable by up to life in prison. The EDB has replaced the subject of liberal studies, which it introduced in 2009 to increase social involvement and to develop critical thinking, with a smaller module called Citizenship and Social Development which focuses on patriotism. References to the bloody 1989 crackdown on protesters in and around Beijing's Tiananmen Square and the 2014 Umbrella Movement protests in Hong Kong have been removed from textbooks seen by Reuters, along with other pro-democracy events. Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam said last year that teachers who were bad apples needed to be removed from the education system. The EDB told Reuters it received 269 teacher misconduct complaints from June 2019 to December 2020. It did not provide any details of the complaints. Under pressure from authorities, the PTU officially disbanded earlier this month. The Hong Kong government had already cut ties with the 95,000-strong union, which China's state media had described as a poisonous tumor read more. Head teachers scramble. The EDB told Reuters that 4% to 5% of teachers in primary and secondary schools dropped out every year for the past 4 years. It does not have data for the school year just started. Some principals told Reuters that teacher turnover this summer was much higher than that. Dion Chen, chairman of Hong Kong Direct Subsidy Scheme Schools Council, said many schools had 5 or 6 teacher resignations, with some reporting 15 to 20, more than in previous years. Not all were caused by emigration, he said, but the departures triggered a musical chair effect of teachers changing jobs. Tai Tak-ching, who retired as the head of the Wan Chai District Headmasters Conference in August, estimated 5 to 7 resignations per school, compared with only 2 or 3 in recent years. Polly Chan, vice chairwoman of the Hong Kong Aided Primary School Heads Council, said 4 teachers at her Yomati Catholic Primary School, Hoi Wong Road emigrated and she had to replace 10 teachers in total over the summer. Chan said the higher turnover was caused by the pandemic, plus social disturbances, plus political reasons. She said emigration had only become a significant factor this year. Cheng at United Christian College, Kowloon East said he had to replace 14 of his 80 teachers this summer, 9 emigrated, 4 changed schools and 1 retired. He said he had never before had to replace more than 3 or 4. Most of those who left had taught at the school for more than 15 years, he said, but some of their replacements did not have the postgraduate diploma required to fully qualify as a teacher, which Cheng described as a compromise. Cheng told Reuters he brought back a retired teacher to guide one of the new recruits, hired an external firm to help the new Japanese teacher and assigned mentors internally for the rest of the new staff. He said he expects the big burden of emigration to last another 2 or 3 years. The education sector takes a hit because the people with experience are leaving in droves, former PTU President Feng Weihua told Reuters, before the union disbanded. Reporting by Sarah Cheng in Hong Kong, writing by Marius Zaharia, editing by Bill Rigby. Our standards, the Thomson Reuters Trust Principles. Taiwan plans $9 BLN boost in arms spending, warns of severe threat. Soldiers march to position during an anti-invasion drill on the beach during the annual Hankuang military drill in Tainan, Taiwan, September 14, 2021. Reuters/N Wang. Taipei, Sep 16, Reuters, Taiwan proposed on Thursday extra defense spending of $240 billion, $8.69 billion, over the next 5 years, including on new missiles. As it warned of an urgent need to upgrade weapons in the face of a severe threat from giant neighbor China. Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen has made modernizing the armed forces well armed but dwarfed by China's, and increasing defense spending a priority. Especially as Beijing ramps up military and diplomatic pressure against the island it claims as sacred Chinese territory. The new money, which comes on top of planned military spending of $471.7 billion for 2022, will need to be approved by Parliament where Tsai's ruling party has a large majority, meaning its passage should be smooth. Taiwan's defense ministry said China's military strength had grown rapidly and it had continued to invest heavily in defense. In the face of severe threats from the enemy, the nation's military is actively engaged in military building and preparation work. And it is urgent to obtain mature and rapid mass production weapons and equipment in a short period of time, it said in a statement. Deputy Defense Minister Wang Xinlong told reporters the new arms would all be made domestically, as Taiwan boosts its own production prowess, though the United States will probably remain an important provider of parts and technology. Taiwan has been keen to demonstrate that it can defend itself, especially amid questions about whether the United States would come to its aid if China attacked. Only if we ensure our security and show determination will the international community think well of us, said Cabinet spokesman Lo Ping-cheng. Others will only help us if we help ourselves. The additional cash will likely be well received in Washington, which has been pushing Taiwan to modernize its military to make it more mobile so it can become a porcupine, hard for China to attack. Ingrid Larson, one of Washington's unofficial representatives for Taiwan, stressed there was a real and urgent need for Taiwan to pursue defense reforms. As allies and partners in the region and around the globe increasingly push back on China's aggressive action, it is important that Taiwan remain committed to the changes that only it can make for itself, she told the Center for a New American Security think tank. Taiwan must build as strong a deterrent as possible and as quickly as possible. Taiwan needs truly asymmetric capability, and a strong reserve force. Asymmetry means systems which are mobile, survivable, and lethal. Larson is managing director of the Washington office of the American Institute in Taiwan, which handles U.S. relations with Taiwan in the absence of formal diplomatic links. The weapons Taiwan aims to buy with the money include cruise missiles and warships, the Defense Ministry said. Taiwan has been testing new, long-range missiles off its southern and eastern coasts, and while it has not given details, diplomats and experts have said they are likely to be able to hit targets far into China. Taiwan has already put into service a new class of stealth warship, which it calls an aircraft carrier killer due to its missile complement, and is developing its own submarines. The announcement comes as Taiwan is in the middle of its annual Hankuang military drills. Read more. On Thursday, its army simulated fending off an invasion, firing artillery out to sea from a beach on its southern coast. $1 equals 27.6330 Taiwan dollars. Reporting by Ben Blanchard and Yumu Lee, additional reporting by Roger Tung and Jeannie Cao and David Brunstrom in Washington, editing by Muralikumar Anantharman, Sam Holmes, and Jonathan Otis. Our standards, the Thomson Reuters Trust Principles. Read next. As workers age, robots take on more jobs study. Afghan Finance Ministry working on getting public sector salaries paid. A money changer holds a stack of Afghan currency on a street in central Kabul April 2, 2014. Reuters/Tim Wimborne. Sep 16, Reuters. Afghanistan's government is working on resolving a series of problems that have held up salaries for public sector workers, the finance ministry said on Thursday. As the new Taliban administration struggles to restart the stalled economy. Even before the movement seized Kabul last month, many public sector workers said they had not been paid for weeks, and with banks imposing strict limits on cash withdrawals while prices for basic necessities rise, many face serious hardship. The ministry said technical problems had led to a delay in paying salaries, but special teams were working on resolving payroll issues as quickly as possible. Respected staff of the public administration can continue their work without any kind of worry, the ministry said in a statement on its Facebook page. The statement contained no further details and it was not clear when salaries might be paid. It came as the new government grapples with a severe shortage of cash, with more than $9 billion in reserves held outside Afghanistan still blocked. The International Monetary Fund warned on Thursday that Afghanistan faced a looming humanitarian crisis, but its funding to the country remains on hold. 8 flights have begun bringing emergency supplies into Afghanistan, where severe drought in much of the country has left millions in danger of famine. But the cash-starved economy, deprived of the billions in foreign aid that previously kept it afloat, is close to collapse. Reporting by James Mackenzie, editing by Nick McPhee.